Welcome to the Fast Leader Podcast, where we uncover the leadership life hacks that help you to experience breakout performance faster and rocket to success. And now, here's your host, customer and employee engagement expert and certified emotional intelligence practitioner, Jim Rimbach.
Call Center Coach develops and unites the next generation of call center leaders. Through our e-learning and community, individuals gain knowledge and skills in the 6 core competencies that is the blueprint that develops high-performing call center leaders. Successful supervisors do not just happen. So go to callcentercoach.com to learn more about enrollment and download your copy of the Supervisor Success Path ebook now. Okay, Fast Leader Legion, today is going to be a fantastic episode because we're going to get into some things that are actually going to question what you've been doing in order to be able to connect with people from a customer experience perspective, sales and service perspective. Steve Pacinelli grew up in southeastern Pennsylvania with his mom, dad, and 2 older sisters, Jennifer and Amy. Jennifer, 9 years his senior, acted like another mother figure for Steve. The relationship dynamic was less than an annoying sibling relationship and more of a mentor relationship. She would take Steve everywhere she went, and he loved spending time with her. However, Amy, 4 years his senior, fit the bill for good old sibling strife, but in a good way. She taught Steve how to handle conflict in a mutually beneficial way, which suited him well later in life. Amy was born in Korea and adopted by his family. One of the things that Steve remembers most from his childhood is the constant teasing she would receive for being different in a predominantly white neighborhood. There were some more important early lessons there that Steve picked up on about people, their fears, compassion, or the lack thereof, and kindness. From an early age, Steve was a salesperson and a marketer. He also had a love for magic and being on stage performing. This required constant trips into Philadelphia to the only magic shop, which was about 40 miles away, to hone his craft. Negotiating, marketing, and selling was key in getting his parents or sisters to make the trek, then spending hours at the store while he learned new tricks and bought new props. Almost every job Steve had from his teenage years straight through to adulthood were sales jobs. He had sneakers, knives, cars, long-term care, and finally software. Steve is similar to performing magic. Sales is similar to performing magic. You need a compelling story. You need to make someone believe something that they probably didn't at the outset of the interaction. And it needs to be mutually beneficial for both parties. And it should be fun. Steve is the Chief Marketing Officer at BombBomb and co-author of Rehumanize Your Business, How Personal Videos Accelerate Sales and Improve Customer Experience. Steve believes that, contrary to some beliefs, sales can be done in a kind, empathetic, and fearless manner. Those are also the qualities that he wants his kids to embody in anything they do. That's what he wants to pass on to Grant, Owen, and Sophia, his 3 curious, silly, and loving children. Grant and Owen are 8-year-old identical twins, and Sophia is 5. He resides in Downingtown, Pennsylvania with his amazing wife, Gretchen, and he's extremely proud of the little life they built out of love and happiness. Steve Pacinelli, are you ready to help us get over the hump?
I'm ready, Jim. Thank you for having me on the show.
Oh, man, I'm glad you're here, and I'm looking forward to this conversation in so many different ways. But I've given my Legion a little about you. But can you tell us what your current passion is so that we can get to know you even better?
Yeah, my current passion, it's been my passion for a while, is video and communication through video. Because before I came to BombBomb, I was actually a customer for 4 years, exploring the topic, using it with my sales team, communicating more effectively with video all the way back to 2011. And so we were trying to figure out how to convert these online leads at the time. We had the sales team and we had a road show, we had a 48 city tour. And we were like, how can we supplement our road show? Well, let's do online leads. And we weren't converting any of those leads. And I started using video and sending out videos, and not just videos demoing the products we were selling, but videos introducing our salespeople and connecting them as real people and making sure that the online lead was a real person, showing them our salesperson was a real person, and then facilitating that sale. And over the next 4 years, I had such a passion for video that BombBomb's like, wait a second, now, like, you need to come work for us. You know, let's join forces here. And so, yeah, ever since then, my passion has been video communication and the psychology behind video communication and why it works and how long the video should be and the types of words that you should use, because it's different from telephone communication, it's different from email communication, and it's different from face-to-face communication.
There's so many things that you talk about, and as you explain that I would love to go into, but I think that's, now we get into a workshop. So I want to hit at a high level and really stop for those people that are saying, well, I'm not in sales, because I can tell you that when you have an opportunity to read this book and also listen to these things that we're talking about, this is not about sales and it's not about service. It's really about all of it, which ultimately leads to relationships. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the key that we need to focus in on here.
And any interaction, I took this from Chris Voss, was listening to one of his podcasts this week, and I don't know if you read his book about negotiation, but any interaction that ends with a yes or a no is a sale. If there's a yes or a no, you're convincing somebody. So whether you're speaking to an employee, a manager, a colleague, a potential client, or just a relationship, anything that ends with a yes or no, it has an element of sales, involved. And video can help you in all those scenarios, especially with your employees.
Well, and also we're talking about it being a more globalized world. We have dispersed workforces. I mean, even when I see it in the contact center world that I spend so much time in, I mean, you have many, customer care and support operations, internal sales operations that nobody is in any type of, unified single location. I mean, they're all over the darn place.
Right. And we're Zooming right now. We're on Zoom. I can see you. I've worked remotely at every job I've ever held since I graduated college, which has been 20 years now, on every single job. And it's been easier to work remotely in the past 8 years, 10 years than it's ever been. I'm the CMO of BombBomb, and BombBomb's in Colorado Springs, and I'm in Philadelphia.
That's a great point. And one of the things in the book to me that I just really was sucked into, the data that you were revealing and the realities associated with the millennia of human brain training. So and share with others what that really means.
Yeah. So we've been speaking for about 100, depending on who you believe, for about 150,000 years. We've been writing for about 5,000 years. Most people have been reading because most people couldn't read for the majority of humankind for about 500 years. And so when you look at that, the way that we communicate, we are conditioned to communicate face to face. We've been doing that so much longer than reading something in a book, for that matter, but especially reading something on a screen or on a phone. And someone decided 25 years ago that, and here's the next date. This is probably the most important date out of all of those because it's the most recent, but 20 to 25 years ago, someone decided that our most important business communication was going to be relegated to the text on your screen, and it's going to be sent through email, or it's going to be sent through text messaging, which removes the most important part of any message, which is the messenger. When the messenger is now removed from the message, the thrust, the meaning, the emotion behind the message is also removed. And that's really been the biggest turning point. And so we've been communicating that way ever since. And we're missing out on tonality. We're missing out on cadence and rhythm of speech. We're missing out on body language. We're missing out on just the way that you show that you're paying attention with somebody or to somebody by looking them in the eye. And there's so much natural and rich communication that's been removed in the past 25 years.
That actually causes me to really stop and think about something that I've been working on here recently. And I had shared this with you off mic, but I'm currently doing virtual summits as well. And what we're doing is flipping, the typical concept of an event and converting it into a learning system. Because oftentimes when we go to any type of, conferences or events, it's like a one and done. Hey, I went there, I attended a particular education class, and I'm done. And boom, I can't do anything with it anymore.
And now I'm not going to implement anything I learned.
Exactly right. And also too, talking about hectic schedules, people can't, get out and do those things, but I don't want to get into that real deeply. But so I have the Contact Center Virtual Summit, and we have the CX Success Summit, which is about customer experience more at enterprise level. But when I do load, much like we're doing here, an interview format with these experts talking about these subjects and topics, and I get just as much feedback on me as an interviewer and a moderator as the subject matter topic itself. Mm-hmm. And I have found that to be quite amazing, but it leads right into what you're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. Another Matthew Brodsky, who was conducting some research for Harvard on video communication for us, and we gave him, I think, 500. These numbers are accurate. About 500 customers, and he was tracking all the video communication. And one of the most interesting elements about video communication wasn't just the way that the recipient felt about the sender, because you think, oh, I'm going to send you a video, and I'm going to wave and say hi and introduce myself, if you were, a new leader, a new employee or something. But it's the way that the sender, it changed the feelings that even the sender had about the recipient, because it shows when someone shows vulnerability, and when people get on camera like this, they get scared, they get a bit nervous. And when you're vulnerable with someone else, it connects you to that other person. And it's actually a two-way street. So as you're interviewing and as you're doing these virtual interviews, the relationship is being built on both sides.
I think that's an extremely important point that we all need to really think about when we start talking about, really, as in the book you say, outsmarting our mental shortcuts. Yeah. So you talk about the dual theory of the mind. Mm-hmm. What is that exactly?
Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman, great book. He breaks the mind down into two parts, and he calls it the System 1 and System 2. And System 1 is the emotional side of your brain. It's that gut feeling that you get when you meet someone, and within like a second, you're like, oh, yeah, I like that person, but you don't know why, right? It's the part of your brain that you don't have access to. He calls it also the primitive, or other people also call it the primitive part of the brain. And then you have System 2. That's when that's the analytical side of your brain, and the side of your brain that is thinking everything that you're thinking right now. Your thoughts, and the part that you have control over. And System 1 and System 2 together, most people think that System 2 makes the decisions. It's the analytical part of your brain. And I was about to say buying decisions, but it's not just for sales, not just for buying, it's making decisions. But System 2 is a slave to System 1, because it always starts off somewhere on a level, and you always start off with a feeling, and then System 2 comes in and adjusts from that initial level. And so the only way for System 1 to be active, so if I send you an email, Jim, and I type it out, and let's say it's a interdepartmental email, or I'm conveying some new information or scary information, to my employees, and I type out that email, only System 2 is engaged for that recipient. So they're not feeling anything. They don't have a place to start on that scale. They have no emotion to go off of. So what ends up happening is however that recipient is feeling, and this is why messages can be interpreted in so many different ways. Because if that message went out to 15 people in that department, and John had a fight with his wife this morning, Susie had problems with the kids getting out the door, and then Mary had an amazing day, they are starting that conversation. They are reading it in the analytical part of the brain with whatever they're feeling at the time, and that's where that conversation starts for them. Now, the difference is, by sending it through video, is you can start with that System 2 or the System 1 in place and get that emotion across, and they can see if you're happy, if you're excited, if you feel confident in delivering that news. It could be bad news, but are you confident in do they see it in your eyes? And now you can deliver that message with the intended emotion behind it, and you're not leaving it up to the recipient to decide how you're feeling. And if you ever had an email misconstrued, then, which everybody has, then you know how it can work.
Absolutely. And in the book you talk about, you have several different case studies associated with everything that you're talking about here. And it gets also into the science, and you mentioned it a moment ago as far as length, this, that, and the other. You even mentioned something about the different types of communication style, like highly transactional. That is going to be left for text and short messaging and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm getting into things that require that complexity component, that connection component, that relationship component, if I want referrals, if I want customer retention, if I want a better customer experience, I really need to be incorporating all of this video and face-based communication. And I'll say face-based because that comes in a lot of different forms and formats into our mix.
Yeah. I love how you put that. I don't think we put that into the book. Face-based communication. We always say face-to-face, but that sounds better. I wish I would have had that in there.
Hold on, let me copyright that real quick before you do that.
Yeah.
But I think, for us, so we're sitting here and saying, is this right for me? And in chapter 4, you talk about the 6 signs this new approach is for you and your business.
Yeah.
I could kind of just run through those a little bit, because for me, I think that's also important for us to talk about so that people don't have, a misperception about this.
Yeah. And so I'll go through, in my opinion, what are the most important ones. If you are, and there's some in there too, which could go either way. But if you are dealing with someone and any type of emotion, whether positive or negative emotion is involved, that is a perfect opportunity for sending them a video. Because again, and for the last example that we just gave, you can start off that conversation at the emotional level, that is required for that particular conversation. If you're trying to build trust, if you're trying to build rapport with someone. So for example, if your sales team does have a brand new lead that comes through the door, then rather than just typing up a text response, show them that you care, hit the record button, send them a 20-second video does wonders for supplementing the text information that you were already going to send out. Hey, Jim, thank you so much for checking out the website. I just wanted to let you know that I'm a real person. I'm here to help. If you have any questions, I can handle any questions that you have. In the meantime, check out blah, 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 below, and you send that message out. So when someone's deciding to work with a company or not, they need to know if they can trust that company, if the values align with that company. And they can only do that through the people at the company, right? And so if you had a chance to get face-to-face with someone earlier and more often, would you do it? And that's really the value of video. And so trust, rapport, anytime emotion is involved, like I mentioned, and if you want to get into a really good one, negative news or bad information or an apology is done so much better through video than over the phone, through email, or in person. And there's a very specific, do you want to touch upon this now or keep?
Oh, please do it. I mean, you open the door.
Okay, so this is one of the most interesting ones. So negative information or bad news is more psychologically compelling than good news. And I'll give you a scenario here, Jim, where I'm sure you've experienced this before, where you gave someone some bad news and one of two things happened. They either sat there in silence and they're trying to process and they're thinking and you're like, what do you think? What do you think? And you need an answer and they're not providing an answer. Or it's the exact opposite end of the spectrum, and what happens? They go off the handle. What's going on? I can't believe this. And it's because they don't have time to process that information. It's scientifically proven that bad news takes longer to process. So the plan, and one of the things that we talk about, in the book and that we talk about in our presentations as well, is when you have bad news to give, you want to give someone that time. You want to give them the luxury of the time to process without providing an answer. So they can process it emotionally, then process it analytically as well, and process it rationally. And if you send a video, so here would be a great example. We have a lot of real estate clients, so I'll just use a real estate example. If a real estate agent has to tell their client that they think they should have a price reduction to their home, not the best news ever, right? They would send a video first, and they would say, "Hey, Jim, start off with a little personal note. Hey, I just wanted to let you know, due to this, that, and this, I am going to recommend that we lower the price of your home to this because of, because being one of the most powerful words in the English language, because of this, this, and this, hey, I'm in a meeting, or I'll be in a meeting here this afternoon, but I want to have a chance to talk with you about this. I'll give you a call later on this afternoon. Now, what that does is you provided all the necessary informational points. You did it in a kind and empathetic manner through video, which you can't do through text, and they weren't required to give a decision or even respond, because people don't know how to respond right off the bat. And if you have bad news to give and you follow that format and then you follow up with a phone call or an in-person meeting after, you're going to find that that phone call or in-person meeting is going to be infinitely better, because they had a chance to truly understand the real reasons for your request. And that could be giving bad information to an employee or anyone within your company.
Well, and to bolster that even further, the same thing applies when we start talking about an escalation scenario in a customer and a customer care or customer support environment, is that if a customer's upset and you need to escalate a call, the person who that gets escalated to, whether they're in a managerial position or just a recovery team, should not be trying to, get details about the situation right then and there, because the emotion just inflames even further. It's a better practice to say, let me get some information, let me do some research, let me find out about that and get back to you, because it allows for that diffusion to occur.
Because your goal there is to show them that you are, one, listening, and two, you understand. They're not necessarily looking for that immediate response. Like, am I being heard? And it's, at BombBomb, we have a saying, be seen, be heard, be understood. And that's what video allows you to do. Seen, heard, and understood. And all human beings want to be understood.
That's a great point. Okay, so then you talk about, as well, customer experience. So get into that a little bit, because it's so important for us at the Fast Leader Show.
Throughout the entire customer experience lifecycle, from where you start off, you don't have a relationship with that person, and it's a lead, and then you do have a relationship, with that person, and maybe they signed up for your service or your product, following up regularly, and this is one of the top 10 times video beats text at important moments of that relationship that you have with that customer, maybe the day that they signed up. Sometimes I get an email every once in a while and it's like, hey, you've been with us for a year. But most of the time that email is just like, hey, you're being billed again. And that's the congratulations, you've been with us for another year. It's here comes the bill. But there's scenarios where, again, it doesn't have to be long. It doesn't have to take a ton of time. A 15-second video at that point in time when the bill goes, hey, your upcoming annual bill is coming up. I just wanted to say, Jim, that we loved having you as a customer. It seems like you're getting massive value from our system. We hope you absolutely love it. If you have any, just 15 seconds. Going out will make a massive difference. And then you were talking about if anyone has issues or problems. So we have a cool Zendesk integration too, which allows people to send videos out of that system, which is pretty neat. And time to resolution when video is used in certain scenarios is reduced by 70%. So you send a video, and you're reducing the amount of time, and you're reducing the amount of threads within that the back and forth within that conversation as well. Because video is not only about you and me looking at each other face to face, but it's about conveying information more effectively too. And screen recording videos in that sense are immensely powerful. Now, it's beneficial if the person can still see you in the bottom corner, or if there's a square or a box, depending on whatever system you might be using to record your videos, and then they can see your screen. But if someone's phoning in and they have an issue, with your system, or they don't know how to do something, showing them with a quick video on the screen and allowing them to see who's teaching them is a powerful component too. So the personal moments, the birthdays, the anniversaries, other great times to send personal videos where everyone's just writing HBD on Facebook. It's like, great, thanks for spending so much time wishing me, happy birthday. A 15-second happy birthday video. We have clients that they only use video. Mark and Laura Anderson would be one of them. They're out of Minnesota. Their primary use of video is to send happy birthday messages. And they sent over 4,000 of them.
Wow.
And they get benefit from that. And that's customer experience. That is, they're sending it to their leads, they're sending it to their past clients, they're sending it to their prospects. Whenever they get a birthday, that's what they do. and they make that connection, and people are reminded why they like them.
Well, but that's okay. So, but when you start thinking about some of the barriers, I think you bump into one of the biggest barriers in our society that is linked to a major phobia and fear, and that is public speaking. So now we're talking about, oh my gosh, I'm on video. You can hear me and see me, and I look this, that, and the other, and that whole critical aspect. And so therefore, I'm not doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. So we communicate, every person, no matter who you, maybe I'll give a 0.1% on this, but almost every person, no matter who you are, communicate better face-to-face because you've been doing it from the moment that you were born. Babies can read faces, and that's also part of the book. Babies can respond to faces and interactions. You did that at a very early age. You did that every single day of your life. You haven't been writing business communication every single day of your life. You are better at face-to-face communication. So once you know that there is a 99.9% chance that you are better at face-to-face communication, then you know that this would be the right route to take. Now you just need to alleviate the fear in taking that route. And there's a number of things that you can do. One of my favorite tips is if you're just, well, here, actually, before I give that, let me back up for a moment. These videos, a lot of people, when they think of video, they think of marketing videos. And they think of a green screen and drone or high-end digital SLR cameras and scripts. I am horrible at memorizing scripts. I'm horrible at memorizing stuff in general. And so I'm not good when I have a DSLR in front of me and I need to repeat verbatim, word for word, what the script that I carefully thought of and wrote out. I'm awful at that. And I still get nervous when I have to record marketing videos. But the type of video that we're talking about here, these are relationship videos. So one, the level of fear is greatly reduced because you're only speaking to one person. It's not designed for thousands and thousands of people that hit your website. Two, chances are you already know what you want to say, because if you were there with that person face to face, you would know what to say. If a new lead came in, you would know what to say. If it's a client experience process, you would know what to say. If you want to congratulate someone on a promotion or a raise, you know what to say. So you don't have to have a script. We do recommend, if you're gonna, see if I had a piece of paper here, if you do forget, like me, and I am kind of forgetful, it's okay in the beginning of your videos to write down, like put down 3 bullet points or 4, write down the bullet points here, and then in the beginning of your video say, oh, hey, Jim, there's just 3 things, and you point right to the bullet points and you put it back down. And what this does is this gives you the okay and also notifies the recipient that when you're looking down and away, there's a reason for that. Because if you don't do that and I'm talking to you like this, Jim, I'm not making any kind of connection because I'm reading the page. But if I'm looking at you and I say, yeah, and then the first thing that I want to talk to you about, and you look back up, it makes it natural, it makes it normal. So one, the style of video should be easier, so it's more approachable, even for someone that's afraid of being on camera. 2, if you're still afraid of being on camera and you're not comfortable with the 15 and 30-second messages, there's some things that you can do directly before you record. And one of them is to sit and just close your eyes and think about something that makes you happy. And I know this sounds weird, but it works. And we do this in our training classes. We have people send us a 30-second video on why they love doing what they do. Live during a training class, we watch those videos, and then we have them redo it. And for 30 seconds before they do it, they think about something that they're grateful for. They think about something that they're happy about, their family, their kids, etc., and then re-record that video. And the second video, it's not like 2 times better. It's like 7 times better. It is infinitely different because that's when the emotion comes across. And that's all you're trying to do. One of my favorite stories is my wife. She didn't want to send video. She was just like the listeners out there, the watchers that don't want to send video. And I'm like, honey, you're married to the CMO of BombBomb. You need to use video. It'd be embarrassing. So she's like, all right. So she gets ready. She sells skincare products, and she was emailing someone in Westchester, Pennsylvania, with a video, and she had all the products in her hand, and she dropped them during the video. And so she pops out of the frame, and you can't see her in the frame anymore. She looks at me, and I'm like, you keep going. I'm like, you keep going. And she pops back into the frame, and she's like, oh my God, I'm so klutzy. She didn't want to send the video at the end. I clicked the send button for her. It went out. She got a call in 15 minutes, and it was Susan. And Susan was like, oh my God, never talked to Susan before, ever. This was only digital communication. She was like, oh my God, I love you. I am so klutzy too this one time. And now Susan is actually one of her good friends. And it all stemmed from your imperfections are your perfections. Embrace your mistakes. Embrace your stutters in a short one-to-one video. You don't want that in a marketing video, but if you make a mistake and stumble over your words, that's what endears you to other people. If they're not going to think you're not competent. If you smile and you show that you're a real person, you're like, oh, sorry about that, and you just keep on going, because that's what you do in real life, and that's what they're trying to connect with.
Well, I think the important point, too, to note is that if some people are put off by that, you don't want to try to do business with them anyway.
Right. Yeah, that's a great observation, Jim.
Okay, so now you started talking about, and we've talked many times throughout this about the emotion component. You talked about getting your mind right and mindset right and whole appreciation, and then, doing your video. And one of the things that we look at on the show in order to help get our minds right, focus in on some positives, are quotes. Is there a quote or two that you like that you can share?
Oh, geez. As I just previously mentioned, horrible with memorization of pretty much of pretty much anything. But let me think. He's got so many quotes, in this book, and I remember all the main thrusts. But one of my favorite books of all time is Marketer as Philosopher by Flint McLaughlin, and it's a under the radar kind of book. He didn't produce it to sell a ton of copies because it's $50, or it might even be $60. It's leather bound, like old school, like leather, like you smell it, it's an experience and you feel it. And the entire book is filled with quotes. And I remember all the thrusts, but I don't remember the exact words there. But it is definitely top 3, if not my favorite book of all time. And it doesn't really give you anything tactical. It just gives you the broad view of marketing and connecting with people, and it's absolutely amazing. So if you want to find some amazing quotes, go there.
That'll work, and we'll do that, and we'll also put that as a link on your show notes page. Okay, so needless to say, when we start talking about this learning journey that you've gone through, and you talked about it, I started here and got to here, and now I'm working for the company, right? Is that along with that, and as well as in life, there's humps that we have to get over in order to find, our better direction and, make some better decisions. Is there a time where you've gotten over the hump that you can share?
Yeah, I worked for a lot of different people and different environments, and I wouldn't say that the first people that I worked with and worked for were bad because they weren't. As leaders, as mentors. But, I was shaped by kind of like a hardened business mentality, right? Because I was a salesperson. Everything's about that number. Oh, did you make your number? And there's no touchy-feely emotions. Like that is how I grew up, more or less. And it wasn't until that I met Max Pigman, who mentored me in he's an amazing salesperson. He's an amazing speaker. He's an amazing motivator. He's an amazing leader. And he showed me that you can drive and get to the numbers at the same time, but you can do it in a more compassionate and kind and friendly way. He just exudes kindness. And that was my first experience with that. And that was a hump for me, because I feel that my leadership style changed immensely and for the better after my relationship with him. He was a national speaker for Realtor.com, and I was the assistant national speaker. And then when he left, I became the national speaker, and everything that he taught me there, that's when my career really started to skyrocket, when I started caring more about people and less about the numbers, because the numbers were the byproduct of caring about the people. And so I would say I was in a rut for the first 10 years of my, maybe not 8 to 9 years of my career.
I kind of had that hard knock once or twice as well. And I can totally connect with, and I'm sure a lot of people can connect with, And so, there's a lot of studies talking about, our impacts around our environment. And, the fact is that if we're talking about engagement, 70% of that variance engagement is because of the relationship they have with our direct, supervisor or leader. And so needless to say, all of our behavior is definitely influenced by that as well. But when we start talking about influencing behavior, when we start talking about doing things a little bit differently, when you start talking about rehumanizing, where are we now and where is this actually headed?
Where are we now? We're still in the early phases. I still go to sales conferences, business conferences, and video is still the new hot thing. And a lot of it is still video for marketing purposes. And that is not what we talk about in the book. We do a little bit, 5%. But it's video for relationship purposes. And so that is still brand new and it's still growing and people are still getting comfortable. Zoom has helped with that. All the social media channels, it's funny, the younger generation and the millennials, they're used to communicating through video, through all the different social media networks. And we find that they take to it pretty quickly and they're comfortable popping on a camera and recording a 45-second message because they've been doing it in their Instagram stories and everywhere else. And so the wave is swelling right now on video communication, and people are like, oh, well, when we get saturated with video, then video is not going to work anymore. And that's what's really interesting. That's where I would disagree, because video isn't the differentiator at all. Now it still is, because not enough people are doing it. So just the fact that you're doing it makes it the differentiator. But just like a telephone, when everyone had a telephone, telephones were fairly new, or email marketing or something like that, and now everyone's email marketing. It's how well that you do it. And so video not being the differentiator, you are, and all video does, it's just a mechanism to get you face-to-face with more people more often. Now, in the future, could there be other ways of doing that in VR and virtual reality and other methods? Sure. But where I think the future is going is refining video communication. Because when people sign up, if they do sign up for BombBomb, I'll see these 4-minute videos, and they're not structured correctly. The messaging isn't clear. And if you don't have a great message, video isn't going to help you. Could they connect with you a bit more? Absolutely. That's that whole emotional element. But all those components need to be in line. You need to have a strong message. You need to connect with people emotionally. You need to make sure that the video isn't too long. If you send a 5-minute video of just you talking, to a new lead, they're not going to watch, that video. If you don't open it the correct way, like a quick tip, one of the best ways I like to open my videos is, hey, Jim, 3 quick things for this video. And the reason for that is the same reason why you read and see blog posts everywhere that say the 7 things, because the human brain has a need for completion. And so they'll go and they'll look at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If you say 3 things, and you listen to 2, it's hard for you not to hear that 3rd thing. And so little things like that, it's the refinement of our video communication and the feedback that people are going to get from whatever system or that they decide to use, where, hey, you should send this style video. Hey, you should do this in the beginning. Hey, make sure you put your CTA at the end. Call this person now because they watched your video twice, or they watched it in their entirety, or they only watched 15 seconds of your video. Send this for a follow-up video. And it's that AI and that intelligence that's going to start to come in based off of the actions and the responses from the videos that you're creating.
Well, I appreciate you opening up the door here and leading the way. And the Fast Leader Legion wishes you the very best. Now, before we move on, let's get a quick word from our sponsor. An Even Better Place to Work is an easy-to-use solution that gives you a continuous diagnostic on employee engagement, along with integrated activities that will improve employee engagement and leadership skills in everyone. Using this award-winning solution is guaranteed to create motivated, productive, and loyal employees who have great work relationships with their colleagues and your customers. To learn more about An Even Better Place to Work, visit beyondmorale.com/better. All right, here we go, Fast Leader Legion. It's time for the Hump Day Hoedown. Okay, Steve, the Hump Day Hoedown is the part of our show where you give us good insights fast. So I'm going to ask you several questions, and your job is to give us robust yet rapid responses that are going to help us move onward and upward faster. Steve Pacinelli, are you ready to hoe down?
I think so, but my Enneagram score tells me that I'm not good at fast responses, but let's do it because I'm ready for a challenge.
Good. You'll be fine. So what is holding you back from being an even better leader today?
Oh, time. One of the things that I noticed in going through my annual review is we're supposed to be spending 10% of our time on education, company hour time. Now, I spend more than that off hours, but I definitely don't spend 10%. And I think time into investing into leadership skills and quality, I need to do more of that.
Along that lines, what is the best leadership advice you have ever received?
And I'd have to go back to Max Pigman, my previous example, and it's show people that you care first and listen. Shut up.
What is one of your secrets that you believe contributes to your success?
I have a curiosity about most things, and that curiosity drives my passion. And if I have a curiosity about video and how it works, or curiosity about people, I find the more curious people are, the more motivated they are.
And what is one of your best tools that helps you lead in business or life?
Best tools, I would say Zoom. Because I am remote. I could say BombBomb, and that'd be the easiest choice, but I want to say Zoom because I'm remote and it's a video communication platform. It allows me to connect with all of my leaders on the marketing team and with other people throughout the company. And that is the secret weapon. Don't send a long email. Call them up for 3 minutes on Zoom and convey it more clearly.
And what is one book that you'd recommend to our Legion? It could be from any genre. Of course, we're going to put a link to Marketer's Philosopher and Rehumanize Your Business on your show notes page as well.
Yeah, so let me choose a different one here. And I think I'll go with Influence by Robert Cialdini. I love psychology. I love everything about psychology. Daniel Kahneman would be up there too, and Thinking Fast and Slow. And then Persuasion by Robert Cialdini.
Okay, Fast Leader Legion, you can find links to that and other bonus information from today's show by going to fastleader.net/Steve Pacinelli. Okay, Steve, this is my last Hump Day Hold On question. Imagine you were given the opportunity to go back to the age of 25, and you could take the knowledge and skills that you have now back with you, but you can't take it all. You can only take one. So what skill or piece of knowledge would you take back with you, and why?
Oh, man, that's a fun one. So what skill or knowledge? Yeah, I think I'd go with I don't know if this is a skill, but motivation to just do it. There's so many things that I hesitated on that I didn't do that would have been successful if I wasn't scared. So I guess it's overcome your fears. It just push through your fears. And if I could convince myself at 25 to push through all the fears that I have, I would be so much further along.
Steve, it was an honor to spend time with you today. Can you please share with the Fast Leader Legion how they can connect with you?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for having me, Jim. People can connect with me at bombbomb.com, of course, if you're interested in checking out how video can help you communicate more effectively and get face-to-face more often. They can reach me online on LinkedIn at Stephen Pacinelli, or even Facebook or Twitter at Steve Pacinelli. And yeah.
Steve Pacinelli, thank you for sharing your knowledge and wisdom, and the Fast Leader Legion honors you and thanks you for helping us get over the hump. Thank you for joining me on the Fast Leader Show today. For recaps, links from every show, special offers, and access to download and subscribe, if you haven't already, head on over to fastleader.net so we can help you move onward and upward faster.